Welcome to Bespoke Diaries. Today's article is on How Traveling Changed My Life by Kajal Gupta, traveler, writer, India. Someone told Kajal that unless you know your struggles and your past, it will be hard to tell us how traveling literally changed her life. So let's begin from the start. She was 19 and she had been deemed an overachiever all her life. Things were easy because she was always willing to fight for what she wanted, and when she did, she always got it, whether it was making a girls' basketball team in a school that did not promote it at all or doing all the extracurriculars and still somehow finishing at the top of the class. She had a simple motto: I can do it because I think I can, but somehow this motto turned a little reckless by the time college started. Staying awake for 3 days in a row by consuming Red Bulls just because I am Kajal and I can do anything, or procrastinating studying for tough exams like actuarial science on just the last 3 to 4 days and still cracking it. She was basically a show-off. The only difference was that she wasn't showing off to the world, but just to herself, that she can do anything on which she set her mind. And even though on the outside, that sounds like a good thought, she always ended up taking it to the extreme. And then it happened. She remembers waking up on a Sunday in November 2018. As is the norm, she picked up the phone to check her schedule for the day. Out of habit, she rubbed her left eye, and suddenly all went black. It felt weird. But as soon as she cleared steer of the eye, she could see her phone again. It felt odd, something was wrong. She covered her left eye again, and all she saw, or didn't see, was blackness. Panicked, she rushed to her parents' room and asked them if they could see something wrong with her right eye. Confused, they said, no. She confirmed whether it was closed shut and they again replied in the negative. She ran towards the mirror, covered her left eye again, and as she tried to look in the mirror with her right eye wide open and saw nothing, it hit her: she had completely lost vision in her right eye. She was partially blind. Introduction to the world of insecurities. After multiple tests and visits to the doctor, she was told that my optic nerve was swollen. Months passed, and so did multiple treatments, empty packets of medicines, and steroids. Physically, she had gained a lot of weight and lost her immunity to a great extent, but mentally it was a different thing altogether. She didn't know how to push herself anymore. She was scared. Everyone had their opinions, but no one really understood. With each passing day and each new conversation with her relatives or friends, she was losing confidence and gaining more and more insecurities. Growing up, she had never experienced insecurities. She was always the person who was brimming with confidence and talent. But now, her fitness was gone, her friends had started vanishing, and she was undergoing one heartbreak after another. No matter how many people she was surrounded with, there was no one with whom she could share about how she felt. A lot of people didn't even know something had happened because she thought they will pity her or just find faults. For the next year, she got into a series of toxic friendships which just further took away whatever little self-confidence she had left. On the exterior, no one knew what was going on, not even her parents or close friends. Everyone still saw the same girl with great accomplishments, bagging an amazing job, going to Harvard summer school, and whatnot, but on the inside, only she knew how she felt. And then in November 2019, 1 year after that horrible incident, 2 guys from her college told her about this trekking trip that they were planning in the mid-semester break in December, and they wanted her to join them. She was sure that she couldn't even run for 5 minutes continuously, let alone do a trek. She hadn't done any sort of exercise or workout or played basketball, something she used to be extremely passionate about before all this happened, and she was sure that she won't go because she won't be able to do it. She remembers them and others discussing who all to ask and then deciding against asking a good lot based on their capability to do the trek. What she couldn't understand at that time was that why would they even consider her? One of them, someone she had interacted with only briefly by then, took her out for these walks where in the middle of conversations he would randomly tell her that how he was sure she will be able to do it, and told her how he will be there the entire time in case something goes wrong. She didn't know him well, but for some reason, his words boosted her confidence, and what felt like a sure no ended up turning into a yes. She was still unsure of her decision and contemplated changing it every day till the very day before the trip, but who knew at that time that this trip is going to be a game changer in her life? A little conscious, a little unsure, her journey to the Kerreri Lake trek began. As the trek began, and they started climbing one mountain after another, it became more and more difficult to catch her breath, but she refused to say anything and she refused to stop. Her shoulders ached from carrying the trek bag, but again she didn't complain or give it to someone else. Somehow, she was in that part of the group that was leading the trek. A little astonished but mostly enjoying, she reached the camping site for the night. 2 people in the group, one of them being the only person on the trek she knew from about 7 to 8 months, had cramps and nausea and thus decided to stay back the next day. This did make her fear of if I will be able to do it return for a while, but she decided to ignore it and nevertheless proceeded to the top. The views were astonishingly beautiful. The snow-clad mountains were breathtaking, and as she climbed higher, the views only got better. Every moment was a challenge for her. Sometimes she slipped, sometimes she fell, and sometimes her breathing was so strenuous that she felt her heart would just come out. She even had a near-death experience when she was about to reach the final point of the trek, the Kerreri Lake. But by the time they were returning, she was running. Yes, she mean running. She was running, sliding, and she was just fearless. She went the extra mile to see the sunset. She didn't want to go back, and she didn't even mind when she got lost with a fellow trekker for more than an hour. She was not the most physically fit person out there. In fact, she might have been the least, but what this trek taught her, or more like reminded her, was that she doesn't give up. It taught her that she doesn't need to be physically fit to trek, she has to be mentally fit. It taught her that even if her body has physically changed so much, even if she is not physically fit anymore, it doesn't change who she is or who she has always been. She was still a fighter, and in fact, after all this, she decided to get herself inked a warrior tattoo. And no, not because the tattoo would somehow make her a warrior, but so it could remind her in those times when she was unable to remind herself that she is a warrior who does not give up no matter what. 2 months later, she was climbing the Kedarkantha trek, and then another 2 months later, she was paragliding in Beer, then Pondicherry, then Singapore, then Chopta trek, and so on. She was unstoppable now. Kerreri Lake was just the start of her journey, and as the journey progressed, she fell in love, and not just with traveling and trekking, but with herself too, all over again. She had now realized that traveling broadens our horizons and makes us see things that we normally are unable to see. From going on her first solo trip to falling in love with traveling so much so that it made her a writer. She had experienced something which had made her grow into a better and more beautiful version of herself, and she just couldn't wait to share it with others, and hence started her travel blog. She still has not conquered all. In fact, there is no conquering all. It will always be a work in progress. She still gets jitters while going on her next trek, she still gets nervous when she tries something new while traveling, and she is still not the fittest person in a trekking group. Actually, she still may be the least fit. But what's different is that she doesn't stop, and she refused to give up both on the trek and in her life. Something she didn't see in herself back then, but the person who convinced her to go to Kerreri Lake trek sure did. She grows with every trip she goes to and learns so much from every new person she meets. Traveling has become such an ingrained part of her now that there's no Kajal without it. She still is not a very fit person, and she is still working on her recurring health issues since that incident. But now, there's no stopping her. Not just from growing and traveling by herself, but sharing it with others. You, my friend, do not need a life-threatening incident to happen in your life to discover the beauty of traveling. Just go out there, trek a mountain, sleep on a beach while looking at the sunset, gaze at the stars, live with strangers, explore not just the world but yourself, and come back to see how much your perspective towards everything changes. And if you want to, share your stories with her, she would love to hear and share them. Thank you for your time. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Do leave your thoughts in the comments section below. For similar type of article, please reach us at contact@thebespokediaries.com, or you can visit our website www.thebespokediaries.com.